All right, let's break down exactly what the differences are between the iPhone 16 Plus and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, the reason I'm comparing these two phones because internally, they're kind of like the same phone, but also different. The Pro has its advantages, but also the new 16 Plus has some pretty awesome upgrades under the hood. So let's talk about the iPhone 15 Pro Max and what's inside. So inside the 15 Pro Max is Apple's A17 Pro processor. Now this is one of the fastest mobile processors out in the market right now. And even though we have the new A18 Pro chip on the new 16 Pro series this year, playing games, editing short form videos, photo editing on this phone is gonna be a piece of cake for this phone, even if it's last year's Pro iPhone. The 15 Pro Max also features 8 gigs of RAM and up to 1 terabyte of storage, and it also features ProMotion 120Hz refresh rate for a super fast and smooth experience. The thing about the Pro series of iPhones is that you have 3 cameras. You got an ultra wide, a main wide camera, and a 5x telephoto zoom lens on this Pro Max. And this camera system is really solid. Now, taking a look at the 16 Plus though, it's very similar to the 15 Pro Max. It features the new A18 processor. It has 8 gigs of RAM inside, just like the 15 Pro Max, but this one only goes up to 512 gigs of storage. Now, as for the cameras, there's only 2 cameras here, a 12 megapixel ultra wide and a 48 megapixel fusion camera, which we'll talk more about later in the video. The iPhone 16 Plus also uses USB-C, which is great, but it is limited to USB 2 speeds, unlike the USB 3 speeds from the 15 Pro Max. Now, what you will get on the 16 Plus over the 15 Pro Max though is this new camera control button, which basically will give you faster access to photo and video tools, and it'll also be an easier way to capture landscape photos and adjust settings on the fly. However, what you're missing here on the iPhone 16 Plus is, of course, the third lens, that 5x telephoto zoom lens. You're also missing ProMotion 120Hz refresh rate and an always-on display. Now, when it comes to its design, the iPhone 16 Plus looks a little bit different compared to years past. We have the dual camera lens here, and it's also a little bit bigger than before. And we're back to this pill-shaped cutout, which we've seen from the iPhone 10, which was one of my favorite iPhones in the last decade. But in terms of its overall size and weight, the 16 Plus is actually a lot lighter than the 15 Pro Max, thanks to the aluminum sides, which feels awesome in hand. Now, the back also features this nice matte finish, just like the Pros, but you get the best colors here on the non-Pro models. Now, as for the 15 Pro Max, this is using titanium for its side rails versus aluminum from the 16 series. It's more durable and feels just as good as the iPhone 16 Plus. Also, the color choices for the 15 Pro series isn't going to be as colorful or vibrant as the new 16 series. So yeah, you're going to have to go with more muted, dull colors here on the 15 Pro Max compared to the 16 series. Now, if you're the type of person who gets a brand new phone and puts on a case immediately, then these tiny details really won't matter to you. But if you are looking for a case, then you should check out channel sponsor dbrand and their grip cases for the iPhone 16 series or the 15 Pro series. Now, what I love about these grip cases from dbrand is that you get the right amount of protection and grip so that your phone is protected while also being stylish thanks to their skins. Now, these cases are also MagSafe compatible, and the magnets on these are quite strong too. Now, they also have their brand new Prism 2.0 screen protectors, which is now foolproof to give you the most precise fit for your iPhones. So if you guys want to go ahead and pick up a case, a skin, or screen protectors from dbrand for your brand new iPhone, just go to dbrand.com/heymarkl or click the first link down below. Okay, so when it comes to its display, the 16 Plus and 15 Pro Max are pretty much identical here. Both are 6.7 inches, both have 2000 nits of peak brightness, except one has 60 Hz refresh rate, while the other has 120 Hz refresh rate and an always-on display. Now, the 16 series also added a 1 nit minimum brightness for the first time ever, so if you use your phone a ton at night, this is gonna be perfect for you. Now, I'm not really gonna comment on, the whole 60 Hz versus 120 Hz refresh rate battle because it's been talked about so many times on social, and all I gotta say is, the average person who's buying these brand new iPhones probably won't care if their phones are running at 60 Hz or 120 Hz. And yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that, but you can discuss it in the comments down below if it really is that important to you. And now when it comes to its overall performance, which one's gonna be faster, which one's gonna be more responsive, since the iPhone 16 Plus is using the all-new A18 processor and the 15 Pro Max is using the A17 Pro processor, I actually haven't really noticed anything that drastic between these two phones. So when we're talking day-to-day stuff, they're gonna perform just about the same. If you're not comparing these two phones side by side and you're seeing 60 Hz on this phone and 120 Hz on this phone side by side, you might say that the 15 Pro Max is faster, but individually, on its own, the performance is literally the same. And then when it comes to its battery life, I feel like if both phones are actually at 100% battery health, I would say they're both identical. Maybe the 16 Plus will last a little bit longer since it's, running the display at a lower refresh rate than the 15 Pro Max. But yeah, if you're looking for the best battery life on an iPhone though, skip these two phones and get the 16 Pro Max instead. That'll have the biggest battery on an iPhone. Okay, so one of the main things that you probably want to know between the new iPhone 16 Plus and last year's 15 Pro Max is if the cameras on the Pro are really that much better. So with the iPhone 16 Plus, you have a 48 megapixel fusion camera on the base model iPhones, but it's not the same main camera that's on the 15 Pro series or even the newer 16 Pro series. This is a slightly smaller sensor, but with a slightly lower aperture at f1.6, versus the f1.76 on the Pro series. And the ultra wide is the same sensor on both phones. So this 48 megapixel sensor that Apple's using on the 16 and 16 Plus is awesome. Now, what I noticed right away between the 16 Plus and 15 Pro Max is the minimum focusing distance. With the iPhone 16, you can get pretty close to your subject to get macro-like shots, but with the main wide camera. And this isn't gonna be using the macro capabilities that you can now get with the base 16 series. This is using the main sensor, not the ultra wide sensor, and what's even better is that with that higher megapixel sensor you can hit 2x and get even closer to your subject while still maintaining that minimum focusing distance. Now for the iPhone 15 Pro Max, you're getting better stabilization for your main 1x lens. You're also getting that 5x optical zoom lens, which is super helpful if you need that extra reach without losing full quality. Now you're also getting night mode portraits as well as shooting in Apple ProRes here, but what the 16 series does have though is a better anti-reflective coating on the main lens and the updated photographic styles, which are basically like, creative filters or color grades for your photos, which you can use when you're shooting your photo or after you're done shooting, which is pretty awesome. I went over this a little bit on my iPhone 16 Plus and 16 Pro video, and I'll leave those linked down below. And then when it comes to videos, both are pretty comparable if I'm being completely honest here. The 15 Pro Max can shoot ProRes log videos, which will help you get better cinematic looking videos that looks like it's shot on an actual camera. And it also features better stabilization. But besides that, video quality on these two are near identical if you're not shooting ProRes and just normal 1080p or 4K videos. Now obviously, if you want to shoot more videos than photos, the true selling point here for the 15 Pro is shooting in that ProRes log format and being able to use an SSD with your iPhone, which the 16 or 16 Plus can't do because of that USB 2.0 speeds. And so to wrap this all up for you guys, to make your buying decision a little bit easier, let's go with this. If you want a big iPhone that's light, that's gonna have a really good camera, that's gonna be super fast and responsive, and one you can buy brand new, the iPhone 16 Plus is the way to go. It's kind of like last year's iPhone Pro series, but just put in a much lighter chassis, minus the telephoto and 120 Hz display. If you don't really need to shoot in ProRes log or care about a 5x telephoto lens, I think the 16 Plus is a really awesome upgrade over previous iPhones. But if you can find a used 15 Pro Max phone for about the same price as the 16 Plus and the battery health is at 100%, then jump on that ASAP. Anyways, that's been it for this video. If you guys missed out on my iPhone 16 Pro video or my iPhone 16 Plus video, I'll make sure to link that down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.